Welcome back to the 2911 podcast. We've got a special guest today.
Woo! Can I go for myself? Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah. Hey, let me yours, bro.
It's asking, isn't it?
Bro, introduce yourself, bro. Tell us a bit about you.
Wow. My name is Gilbert. The man will call me Biz, but you can call me Gilbert. Yeah, choose whatever you want, innit? You get me? I'm from Edmonton, North London. Know these guys from young. Went to secondary school with these man. This guy is literally my neighbour. Yeah. Basically like a cousin. You know what I'm saying?
You said that for years.
Yeah,
though.
I didn't know they weren't cousins until we got to college.
Yeah.
We're cousins because we're Ghanaian.
Next to each other.
My eyes. Yeah. We're cousins, innit? Yeah. So, literally, and then obviously met Square the sixth form time. You know, at the same college as well. And then, just sound all the man the minute. Yeah, literally. Church-wise, I go CEC. His same church as Quabs. Been there for how many years now? 3 years, 4 years.
Bro, I'm not you, bro. I don't know, bro.
I don't even know that. I'll say 2022. So it's 3 years now. Coming on to 3 years.
Yeah,
I came in the summer.
Doing a good job, man.
Yeah, so coming on 3 years now. Been back at church. I'll say back in the faith properly the last 2 years, year and a half. And I think that's it. Career wise, I got a job in it. That's it.
What you do, bro?
I work in pharma. I regulate drugs.
The Lidge farmer or like
I regulate drugs.
It's a nice line. You know, man. What do you do? I regulate drugs.
Every time people ask me, I have to think of ways to. I think that's just a simple way to say I regulate drugs. That's it.
Because it can sound like you're trying to be smart about saying you're a drug dealer.
No. I literally
Technically, you can say that though.
No, I also. Yeah.
Because you know when you meet those guys, you like they're not Lidge, but you know like they're not in a setting where you can't say man's on road or whatever. Like I deal with numbers.
Good way to put it.
That's such a nice way.
I'm into the business of supply and demand. Come.
They do supply and demand.
Any fun facts for the listeners?
Like anime.
What's your favourite one?
Oh, that's hard, man. Damn. I ain't gonna lie, like, I'd have to use my favourite characters. I think favourite anime is kind of different. Depends on what genre you're talking about, because there's different types, innit?
Just say the
two. I'll give my top three.
Alright, fair.
I'd say Attack on Titan's up there.
Oh yeah.
I'd say Naruto.
Max don't watch anime, bro.
I'll say
I watched 2 episodes of that. I used to watch Naruto growing up in it, so man knows about Sasuke and them, man. And Attack the Titans about 3 episodes.
By the way, it's not even Attack the Titans.
Attack on Titan.
Isn't it Sasuke as well?
No, Sasuke is a Naruto in that.
Yeah,
it's Sasuke.
Yeah, Sasuke. It's not about Sasuke from Naruto in that. Yeah.
Try to draw me out. Don't do
I've only watched 2 animes, bro.
I've watched
Baki. Is it Baki?
Baki, yeah, the fighting one.
And
Death Note, yeah. You say like
that's
Death Note, you like one.
Like Yagami, bro.
I've only ever watched 1 episode of anime, and it was 1 episode of One Punch Man.
It was hard though.
I don't know what that is.
I watched like 80 episodes of Naruto as well.
Yeah, I watched that, bro. I used to read the books.
Actually, wait, apparently this is anime. I watched Inazuma 11.
It is.
Yeah, I watched that when I was a kid.
You guys aren't saying anything.
You know, Inazuma 11 was on Disney.
He's a movie guy, innit?
I watch movies and series,
that's it.
bro. I'm not
I'm a series and anime
animation
guy.
person.
I'm a series and
Anime
anime guy.
stands for
Animation, yeah. So
I only watched One Punch Man.
my last
just
one,
had to make sure.
Dragon Ball, man. Original Dragon Ball though.
I never watched
I don't like the super thing. And Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z, is that the one with Goku?
Yeah.
I used to play the
Vegeta.
Wait, Beyblade anime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beyblade's anime?
Yeah.
Didn't know that at all.
I just remember Beyblade because of the
Let it rip.
Let it rip, bro.
Hey, shout out Harlem, man. Actually, no, can't say that.
Shout out who?
Harlem Spartans.
What?
I don't know.
Yeah. They brought it back. But final one. Yeah, Dragon Ball Z. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess.
Shout out to Biz, man. Great to have you here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I feel I was like 3 years ago, innit?
Yeah, what episode you were on? You were on...
Yeah, you did come on one.
Was it even
I was
planned?
thinking, I swear,
It
I was
wasn't
like,
planned. It wasn't planned.
It wasn't planned.
It
It was spontaneous. I was thinking, Biz has definitely been on the episode.
I wasn't there that episode, but apparently you just came, just sat down, and then just started. Episode just started, and that's it.
That is exactly what happened.
That's just rapping still.
I actually don't remember what the episode was.
Yeah,
I feel like I remember if it was intentional, but because it just happened, I was like, wow, okay, first. But yeah.
Well, thanks for having me back, innit?
Come on, bro.
Welcome. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. I feel like it's crazy as well because I feel like anybody who's listened to that episode, obviously I don't know how this episode is going to go, but I feel like you're very different from then till now.
Yeah, a lot's changed.
Yeah. Like, I think you're the same in, like, you're still biz, innit? Yeah. But what would you say has changed, like, the most from, like, that time till now?
You know what it is? I'd say everything's changed because one thing changed, innit? Which is more like my dedication to Christ. So I think it's affected everything in a sense. Cause I was actually, I'm over here. I got my mum to drop me to Tottenham Hill, and I was in the car. I was talking to her, and I asked her like, "I've changed, innit?" And she's like, "Yeah, like you've changed, and it's a good change, innit?" I'm like, "Okay, interesting." Just kind of left it at that. We started talking about something else. I was supposed to be telling you about it. I'll talk to you about it when we offline. Yeah, but yeah, like I think everything's changed, and I've changed as a person, innit? But I said it in a tweet to my mum, like, Musubayang, but sorry, like translate.
It's like my attitude is my attitude, not attitude, but like my nature. My nature is my nature.
Yeah.
So my nature. Ghana independence, bro.
So my nature is my nature, but in terms of like, I think someone's saying it in one of the podcast episodes. I think he was saying it. I think the whole like dating one actually, like, I can't remember what you said exactly, but my nature is my nature, but God's refining my nature in a more like godly way. So I say that much.
Yeah, it's funny actually. It's because I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day, how you always quote that sermon that you listen to at church about Peter. Yeah. About how God kind of changed Peter from how he was to use him with the same things kind of for God instead. It's funny, I was actually thinking about that earlier this week. And I think it's interesting because I think dating is one of the places where when you're talking to somebody regularly or frequently, you're in a situation where you kind of have to assess yourself. And that's where you can sometimes see, have you really changed as much as you think you have or not? Yeah. And I think it's also one of the places, because you see like when you're chilling with a man them, you see like how I'm saying, oh, like you've changed. I'm not linking you every week saying, rah, is Biz still the same kind of Biz? I couldn't care less. Like, as long as man is man a minute, I'm not looking.
As long as it's not moving shiesty, you don't have to close the back door.
Hey, it's real. Hey. No, it's real. But I feel like dating is one of those places where similarly you also have to assess yourself, because you know, like I'm not linking the man and thinking, am I being the same? Or the man I'm going to be on me? Whereas if you have a girl or a man, you kind of got to watch your behaviour a bit more, because you know there's somebody that actually might doubt or say something.
They see certain things that the guys can't see or might not see.
What the guys look over.
Yeah, that's right. Because they have to deal with it, innit?
It's real.
It's real. Certain things I don't have to deal with, innit? Like, it's calm.
It's funny because this morning I had the driving lesson before coming here, innit? And I was talking to my driving instructor, and we were talking just about like relationships and church. Because he was saying how he had a student the other day, and she was on a prayer call while she's in driving lesson, innit? So she
What?
Bro,
wait, so she's driving and then
the phone's there, innit?
And the phone.
What's wrong with that?
You know what? If sometimes you got to do
I just have to picture in my head. But
yeah, Mike.
Okay.
And our prayer call the other day, I was moving, but I was spraying on the train.
No, but
she went praying in that lesson.
But she's driving.
Do you know? I don't know if it's a prayer call. Because I'll explain what happened next, innit? So the pastor was talking about some stuff, innit? I don't know if it's a prayer call or just like a call with the pastor. Something like that. And basically, one woman in the church, she was saying how like she got a man, whatever, but she doesn't want to marry him, kind of thing. The pastor like,
dark.
Well, go on. Mm-hmm. She goes, like he's lazy.
Wait, say that again.
The woman in the church said to the pastor, like, I can't marry this guy, kind of thing.
Okay.
He's like, why? She's like, he's lazy. Mm-hmm. He's like a bum. He's not trying to bet himself, trying to do stuff, whatever. He's like, cool. Let me chat to him and see what's going on here. Mm-hmm. So the pastor went and spoke to the guy. The pastor came back. The pastor came back to the woman and said, I can't lie. Yeah, you can't marry this guy still. And my driving instructor was saying he's there. He's thinking, what's pastor moving? What's the shasty man like that? Isn't it? Yeah. But then basically, he was saying that he thought about it. It's like my man, like they're older than us, innit? I don't know how old, but they're older than us, and like. My man, like, he's not really working like that. He's not trying to match work, not trying to bet himself, not trying to do this, not trying to do that. And she's like, I can't marry.
He's too relaxed, bro.
He's too relaxed. He's not. There's no urgency there.
Yeah. No dogging him.
I was talking about then, like, when it comes to relationships, there's that kind of intentionality. Like, you see with the man, obviously the man will be like, oh man, pattern up, like, you're not doing that, you're not jogging, whatever. But I'm not gonna cut you off if you don't get a job, bro. Could care less.
Yeah.
Well, not couldn't care less. I do care, but I'm not.
I get what you mean.
I'm not gonna cut you off for being brass, innit?
You don't know? No.
No, but I know because it doesn't really, it doesn't affect you like that in a selfish way.
I feel sorry for you, but like.
We're just like go harder.
Yeah, just go harder. That's just
I say this now until like, say for instance, you have a business venture with your friends, and then there's peas in it, and then
you wouldn't go on business venture with my man. You wouldn't do that.
You didn't shout him.
That exactly proves the point.
Out of all your guys, I'm pretty sure even in your head you kind of know which guys you would like
have for certain things.
Your friends that you wouldn't do business ventures with.
Probably, yeah.
I do. I got.
You check certain guys. You check their priorities. You check
of course.
where their heads at. And
like Bian said, Axe kind of proved that point that when you go in a business venture, you need to depend on them. You need to be reliant on them. If that makes sense. Whereas when you're just brethren, if your brethren's lazy.
I'll be honest. You'll
be on them innit, but like
you can see your friend's characteristics. Like I'll do stuff with everyone in this room. There's other guys not in this room that I wouldn't do stuff with. And it's calm.
That's dark.
I'll say that to them though.
Have you ever had that situation in your friendships where like maybe like you've done something with your friend? It could have been like a business decision or just like a project with your friend or whatever. And then like when you actually made that commitment with them, and then you've clocked after like, yo, my man's moving lele, or they haven't got the minerals.
I think I do my due diligence, man. Beforehand. Like I think even if it's my boy, bro, I check all my mirrors. You know what I'm saying? Or I allow other people to check my blind spots as well. Because at the end of the day, he might be my boy, so there might be certain things, as you said, I might gloss over. But then someone else will look at and be like, I don't know about that one. But more time, like before I get into anything with anyone, because like doing business with your guys is a nice, great feeling. But at the same time, if you're not careful, it can get a bit, a bit weird.
I agree with that. I think with me, like, there was a point in time. So when I was working back at my company at aerospace for placement, innit? So one brother now, shout out to him though, good guy, but we just kind of like fell apart. We said that, we'll try drop shipping together, innit? Put X amount of money into it. We're starting the venture now. And there were some parts that he was late, but I was like, okay, cool, we can overcome it. But one thing I realised that his heart posture towards it, he was more on just, money, and it was too focused to it. And then that's when I realised that over time, like, okay, cool, it's not even just on him being on a lay thing, it's just his character as itself, kind of like distance.
Because I'll give you an example. Let's say us 5 that do the pod. The reason why we're able to do the pod is because all of us have similar visions, and I can vouch for each and every man's like work ethic and etc. Because if I'm not there, I know that the work isn't going to fall apart. If Bian's not there, the work isn't going to fall apart. If 2 men aren't there, the work isn't going to fall apart, because every man is going to like rise up. But certain man, they're not going to do that because maybe they might have like a selfish kind of mindset, like you're supposed to be doing that, and maybe my man's going through a certain issue at that point in time. So everybody now has to like kind of pick up their work, whatever. But if you have a selfish mindset, or the target is that, for example, we don't do this for money, for example. But certain guys might come in. certain guys might come in and be like, yo, how do you monetize this? How do you monetize that? And I'm not saying that.
Oh, no, we're not doing that event. It's not going to make us enough peas.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because, for example, when we're doing events and whatnot, we put quality over, like, our own individual, whatever. And certain guys, if they just put profit over whatever, they might pick a meaty venue or pick a thing where like
we're not doing prizes, man.
We're not doing prizes, etc. Because we can have an extra bag after, so we can split it between us 5, for example. But that's why you gotta kind of just check your mirrors, innit? That's true. Because your guys will be your guys, and I think as well, for me, if I see that some of the guys are slacking, I'm not scared to come and tell you you're slacking. But there's only so much I can do. If I come and tell you as a guy, bro, like, you're my boy, I don't like the way you're going, I feel like you should do this, you should do that, I'm willing to help you, whatever. And you don't take my advice, even me, now I'm starting to think, this friendship that we have, do you even respect me enough for us to... And the same way with a girl, like, but with a girl it's a bit different, because I feel like that's more of like your...
It's more intimate.
You know what?
Sorry, like, you see what sorry, it's on nature, like, you see what you're saying with that, innit? In terms of like assessing guys' characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think if your man them can't tell you something, then they will never do anything with you. Like, you see how, like, let's say for example, like, let's say like me, you, the man I'm at church. If you're not here, you haven't obviously at uni, like you come here and there, but things are still running. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's that level of, you have to. Sorry, I don't even like to use these terms. Equally yoked in what you're doing, innit?
Yeah, no, Sunday.
You know what I'm saying?
Do your thing, bro.
I don't like using terms like
go on.
like we all like are taking our faith seriously. Let's say the man, when you got started it, I remember when you guys started it, you're like, no, like I'm gonna start a podcast. I was like, bro, what is it? Say nothing, innit? You don't do that, innit? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't do that, innit? You don't do that. I don't do that. But because you lot all had I think I'll speak to either you or Bienemy, and one of you guys was said like it was bare man there that on the same day, but only a couple man ended up staying around. You know what I'm saying? Does that mean that man didn't pattern up later? Doesn't necessarily mean that, but it meant that at that point in time, the vision that you guys had was shared, and that's what led to that level of camaraderie, you know what I'm saying, between you guys that can actually let you guys be consistent in what you're doing.
I heard that from your
bro,
dictionary.
He regulates drugs, bro.
I heard that. I speak to this guy on the rigs, long conversation. I heard that word once.
It depends what we're talking about, bro.
Depends on the environment, bro.
This is Gilbert coming out.
I was gonna ask a question. Like, you see in the example of the girl in the car, and was it the girl in the car who's getting married or not getting married?
No,
Okay, it was just someone in the right, cool. Yeah. So you see that example, like, so my man is lazy.
Yeah.
My man's lazy, and she said, I'm not gonna get married to him because he's lazy. Would you say that she didn't do a good job of getting ready beforehand into entering that relationship? So if she only found out that
Then
he's lazy now,
Cool. This is what I was gonna see. You see, like with the pod example, I think it's a good example because, like Biz said, we're equally yoked coming into this, right? But we all had made it clear in some way, shape, or form from the beginning that we intentionally wanted to work on this thing, right?
Yeah.
So from that point onwards, whenever we're slacking, any of us have the license to say, pattern up, you're violating. Do you get it? Because we've made it clear that we want to do this thing. But you see, if now over the years, one of us had shown, I do not care about being on time. Like events, episodes, link ups, they're not on the timekeeping thing, they don't care. I think you have to ask yourself a question now. The intentionality with which you came into this thing with, does that cover these certain things that care to you? So for example, if as a group we say we care about being punctual, and now you've realised this guy who says that they care about this, doesn't care about this, what we all do. Clearly we're not on the same page here. We're not as equally yoked as we think, and sometimes time reveals that. But at the same time, there's also a thing where you have, the person that, when you look at Paul and Demas in the Bible.
The one that went away.
Yeah, he says, he went away from us because he was in love with the world.
Yeah.
It's like, Paul, when he decides to do ministry with these guys, you don't have the know-how that this is going to last forever. But we come into this because we're on the same page, and over time, sometimes things get revealed. And I think it's with this woman in this case, she didn't know like how lazy he probably was from the beginning. You see, like when you first start to get to know somebody, you don't know the innermost of their life,
bro.
And no guy's gonna show you I'm a bum.
Bro, I was saying this, bro. Like for example, I was having a conversation. I was saying that, like you see the honeymoon phase, it's a facade because you don't know them enough. Like
everyone puts up their best performance,
bro. As you get to know someone, and you see the flaws, you see is it warts? You see the warts, you see the good, you see the bad, the worst. If you still are able to, let's say, stick through that and work at it like that, that's more real than the flowers, the roses, she's the greatest, he's the greatest. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like, as you said, over time, as you get to know someone more and more and more things get revealed. Now, obviously, it's up to you guys to kind of come to the conclusion that you're still going to work through it. But if you get to a point where you're just stuck on the honeymoon phase of this person's so great, and you don't actually watch the things that are being, because a lot of us, we want them to be a certain way and don't actually see them for who they are. And because we're so stuck on like, I want them to be hardworking, but you can clearly see that my man's lazy, bro. But
can I say something? I think one of the big things that matters here as well is then I think there's a question that has to be asked kind of, you see when you're observing somebody, especially in a romantic sense, are there certain things that are kind of like, this has to be here, or this shouldn't even be a relationship thing? Or is it a thing where certain things it's like, this can be allowed to grow.
Non-negotiables and
Yeah,
negotiables.
like are there certain things that have to be patterned kind of from the get-go?
I remember time ago, we had a very interesting conversation about non-negotiables.
Were you single at the time?
I was with my girl.
Was I single?
I think so at the time, but it was a while ago.
Have your non-negotiables and negotiables changed or something?
My non-negotiables have not changed at all.
Okay.
And I remember
but my view on how I treat some of my negotiables has changed.
Yeah, we'll say. I remember the conversation that we had. Yeah, in terms of the non-negotiables, is that it almost has that underlining layer or that static position in that relationship that there may be a moment in time where you may see a different side to them, but when you see that non-negotiable or something that you thought of how they differentiate from everyone else kind of go away, then it makes you question like, if that main thing, say for instance the case of the girl you brought up with man, I'm even lazy. If, say, for instance, her non-negotiable or that layer was, I saw him as a hard worker, but like in different seasons, hard work may look different. Yeah. We understand that. But in terms of the attitude, in terms of the zeal towards it, if that changes, then it now questions, that non-negotiable that you thought they walked into, can that change? And I remember, one thing I've seen or realised, like speaking to people, is that when it comes to these non-negotiables, it's almost as if like, we try to pave over the cracks. Like, it's almost like trying to walk on water, hopping from one stone to another, but there's no stillness or no firmness in the foundation, And I think it's very important that when it comes to them non-negotiables...
Leather jacket. It's a leather jacket. Continue.
Shots my God. But yeah, and I think it's important, but I really like the question that you said though, Squared, because now... And I want to pivot on to you a bit later, Biz. And you said something important, Squared, about intentionality. Knowing about, when am I ready to kind of go into this? Or, I'm at that stage in my life with, say, for instance, on my walk that, I'm ready for dating. And I think one thing that I realised, especially for like my own personal life, is that sometimes we're so focused on, whatever this optimum point is, I'm somehow not even thinking, but sometimes create it in my head that I need to reach this optimum point, have this place in life, be able to know this many Bible verses, or be able to speak on stage about God, or whatever it is.
50 racks in the bank account.
Yeah, or even in terms of monetary side, until it gets to that point, like, now I can show my true intentionality with, or be ready to have a stepping stone with a girl in it. And I wanted to kind of like pivot to you, Biz, in it, like just from like maybe your own experience, like how have you kind of navigated, trying to, how can I say it?
Pattern yourself.
Yes.
Guys are trying to use lingo, didn't use it.
Pattern yourself, innit?
I say, funny enough, I was supposed to be on the way here about the goalpost, right? So when I was building the goalpost today, like literally in the morning, like right, 10, I got it around 10 o'clock. So I was building it now. See, I'm there, I'm working on it myself, and I'm just literally like putting the pieces together, right? Just like bare pieces, I think like 12, 13 pieces or whatever. So I started building it, yeah. But best bear with me. I started building it. So I thought, you know what, this is the best way for me to build this. I built the frame, so I put the certain parts of the frame there, but I didn't do the joints. I didn't do the foundation first. I did the part where I thought was best first.
And then you're gonna join it all together.
I will join it all together. So I'm doing it now. And I had to stop and I was like, wait, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. And I said, I have to go back and undo certain things and actually just focus on the joints and the base first, rather than actually just...
I see where it's going.
There's a word in it.
I see where it's going.
There's a word.
Yeah, goalpost, I was thinking.
Yeah. No, literally like...
Sound like a parable.
You know the goalpost, like, you see this bit, like, I've done that bit, I'm like, you know what, yeah, how is this gonna stand?
Yeah.
How is this gonna stand? I need to do the bass, bro. I can't hold this up and then do the bass.
Yeah.
I had to undo it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No, really, bro.
Deeper one.
No, for real.
Rob, man.
Shout out, Rob.
What's that pause?
Nah.
Whoa!
Continue, bro.
Yeah, head in the game.
No, literally, like, constantly, like, right now I'm also fasting, innit? I'm trying to fast for Lent and then past Lent as well for a couple of months, and I'm trying to be that in it. But I was like, wait, I can't even do this, bro. I have to actually undo this. And I didn't want to undo it for a second. I was like, you know what? I have to so I can fix it properly. Mm-hmm. So I'd say that I'd think in terms of my character, I think I've got a good character, just as a person in general, innit?
Yeah.
But I think in terms of what, as you're saying, getting ready for life and getting ready for relationships and stuff like that, even just beyond, you know, relationships with girls, relationships with the man, them, brotherhood, relationships with my family, my parents, my siblings, relationships with people I work with, like relationships with my acquaintances. Because I feel like we have to get used to using the word acquaintance again. That's a whole different conversation. Yeah. So like, it kind of goes back to the parable when Jesus was talking about who, like, building your house on rock. Bro, if you see both situations, they built the house. The house was built, but it was the foundation that was the issue. You know what I'm saying? It was the foundation that was the issue. Like, the house was built, bro. I'm sure the house was nice on both parts. Yeah. But Krabs' dad always says it. Pastor Eric always says it, bro. Like, what we're doing right now at church is making sure our foundations as Christians is always firm. Like, it's always ready. It's always ready to weather the storms. Because the only way you can test a house, I think you said it as well. I think he said it the other day when we were together. The only way you can test a house is when the storm comes. The foundation of the house when the storm comes, bro. You can't see that. But if you're in a situation and you check yourself and you're like, you know what, this foundation is weak, you have to go back and restructure,
blow it up.
no, literally, like, you have to blow it up. So I think right now, the best thing to say for me right now is that I'm working on my foundation. So like, I'm working on how I approach my faith first, because as I said, that affects everything that I do. Like, I've seen it affect so many things. Like, it affects my brotherhood, it affects my relationship with my friends, it affects my relationship with my parents, it affects every single facet of my life. It affects it because I'm more mindful of that, and I'm more mindful of what God expects from me. So I'd say, in terms of preparation, I'm looking at life more than just for relationship. We'll talk about relationships a bit more later, innit? But I'm looking at it more than that. I'm looking at it as this is how, when you're a Christian, yeah, people have to understand it's a decision you make. Funny enough, I was listening back to one of Pastor's sermons about decisions and choices, innit? And he's described the decision or choices. He said that decision is a choice you make and you back of action and has consequences. When you decide to walk with Christ, you make a decision, you back it with action, and then it has consequences. I feel like the word consequences, people often use it as a negative thing, but there's positive consequences. Mm-hmm. You know, there's positive consequences and also negative consequences. So I think right now, what I'm redoing right now is just more so, I've dedicated my life to this, and I'm going to walk in it the way I've been told and I've been taught to walk in it by Christ, not by any other metric. Like, I got great mentors at church. No homo, innit? I got a great brother in the Mandem. I got a great brother in Quabs. I got a brother Flex, BN, Squared, Naps. I don't see Naps crazy, like Jeff, all the Mandem, like really, really great guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I got a great brotherhood, but at the end of the day, I'm also conscious that it's a walk that I have to walk on myself. When you're not there, what am I going to do? When you're not there, what am I going to do? You know what I'm saying? When the man aren't there, because we're not going to be together every single day of our lives. We're not together. You know what I'm saying? So right now, what's my foundation on? Is my foundation based off my relationships? Is my foundation based off my friendships? Is my foundation based off the decision I made to follow Christ? And Christ has always said, like, you know, this is how you have to go about things. He's very, very clear.
May I ask you a question though?
Yeah.
You see, so obviously, it sounds like you're intentionally working on your foundation as a man. Has there ever been a time, or has there been times where women have approached you, or had some conversation with, and you've actively said, man's not entertaining this, or man's not speaking to so-and-so because I'm working on my foundation?
It's tough, yeah.
It's
not easy. No, it's not easy. You see something like, yeah, this makes sense, but like, you gotta just sometimes relax yourself, settle yourself a bit. Especially as a guy, man. I'm not too horny, bruv.
What though? You said it perfectly, innit? Like, just I like the part, you know, from all that you said, especially starting off with the goalpost, but bringing it back to the true foundation in Christ. Like Paul says it nicely in 1 Corinthians 3:11 that there's no other foundation in life, but the true foundation is Jesus Christ.
This chair today.
You know one thing I like about this here is like we call each other like once a week, or like, but that phone call will be a 2 hours long chopping pause it up.
Yo! Why?
It was not necessary.
No, that was not necessary. It was necessary because do you know what it is?
Stopped. Yeah. If he continues, it would have been calm.
Now, it's waiting for the emphasis. If it's a chopping it up. Calm. To chop it. Pause.
Why? Every time we speak here, and the way, like, knowing Biz for a very long time, I've seen the way your conversations have even, maneuvered into being away from things like, okay, bro, how you doing? How's work going? To, okay, how you doing? How's work going? But how is Christ allowing you to move in that direction that he wants you to move? And you do that very, very well. And I think it's very good that, you mentioned that, because there may be some cases where you may get, especially when talking to someone new, you may get that buzz feeling, as Quab said, a honeymoon feeling. And we almost forget, okay, are we actually evaluating that true foundation in Christ right now, in the things that we're doing, or the things that we're setting? And it brings me on to yesterday in Bible study. Ogo was there, shout out to her. We tried something different, we said, okay, instead of just doing Bible study, let's just pick a topic, any topic that comes to your mind that you feel like the Spirit will lead on. We talked about personal identity. So we spoke about personal identity, we went down into it. And some of the things that we said is that, when it comes to identity in Christ, sometimes we get so shadowed by the collective identity. Say, for instance, cool, we're in a podcast. I am identified as a member of the podcast, but sometimes I could get lost in that without being identified truly in Christ. We brought up some people in the Bible, when it came to trying to understand their personal identity, like Gideon, like Saul, like Abraham, when it came to that moment where they realized that they had to try to build that identity in Christ before they can go on to something further. And I think it's very important, especially when it comes to relationships, because it can create this sphere of idolization sometimes. Because, say, for instance, now, it's very easy that you have a bad day. Oh, you've got your girl there. Oh, let me just call her. Makes me feel better. But then it's like you're almost attaching her as, or labeling her as, okay, this is the person that will make me feel better. This is the person that will make me feel loved. But ideally, it's Christ. And the thing is, like, from personal experience, being in my first relationship, I never understood that. It's not my field. It's not my game. For a lot of the people who may be listening, or even the people that are hearing it. But over time, you realise that if as being said, the non-negotiables, if that non-negotiable, especially when it comes to at least leading each other back to Christ, is getting swayed, or is, as you said, it's not built on sand, then now that's the real time we've got to teach.
May I ask you a question? Cool. So that's a great, I like how you said that, like, you've realised kind of for your relationship, like, that's what the foundation is supposed to look like. So now, if you were somebody that's asking a question of, what foundation do I need to have before I know I'm ready to get into a relationship? How could you assess? So you see, like you said, that Christ being your first port of call. Like, because I think it's easy to say, your foundation of your life has to be Christ. But anybody who says they're a Christian is going to tell you the foundation of my life is Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, some people, I think, might be honest and say, do you know what? I love Christ most, I've given my life to him, but there's certain areas of my life where Christ is the foundation. I think one thing that Biz mentioned, like, kind of talking about, like, making foundation Christ, something I've realised about Biz that's changed a lot is that you've become very aware of your flaws. Because I remember there was a conversation we had one time where you called me and you said to me, if you were to assess me, what would you say I need to work on? Remember that conversation?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that's one of the things I can say.
It's a good question.
I was going to say, should everybody we can talk about that in a second, actually, because I think that if somebody was to say, like, because I think anybody that's a Christian would say, I'm a Christian, like, surely that's a good foundation. But that's a bit, doesn't really do anything.
I think it's like, again, like, experience, innit? Kind of like experiences that you go through can help shape and form a person, and I guess reveal those certain flaws or those. For example, me after the B, I had time to assess myself. I had time in lockdown.
Well, cool. So before you go into it, so would you say that after the situation in the B, that's when you realise there's X, Y, and Z that I need to work on before I can be in a relationship?
100%. I realised that one thing I didn't know, and it sounds so dumb, I didn't understand that I was the same purpose that Jesus has given me to love people to love people like he loves us. I thought almost like in a relationship that, not that it doesn't count, but it's like, this is outside of this. That I was very much compartmentalization. Like, I'm meant to love God's people. I'm in a relationship rather than like all in one. And I didn't really recognize that. And when I came out of that relationship, I recognized actually you're meant to still treat everyone like a sister in Christ. Do you get what I mean? And again, it sounds silly that I didn't know that. But it was just very much because she has the title as my girlfriend. Yeah. It's okay for it to look different.
Because she's gonna annoy you differently. I remember, me and Axe had a conversation. This is either just before I got into my relationship or after. I think it might have been after.
I'm sure with it.
Don't worry. I'm not gonna put you in hot water. Obviously, I had spoken to my girlfriend for quite a while before she became my girl. And one of the conversations me and Axe had, I said to him how like she doesn't really annoy me. And Axe said, give it time. he said I can't lie. He said this to me. He said like, you see like with a girl, you're gonna realize that like the way she doesn't annoy you, she makes you happy with all that. The highs are gonna be really high. Yeah. So however, it's like a sibling. You see like when your sibling annoys you, it's like nobody else.
It's because the love is deep, right?
Do you get me? And he said that to me, and I was like, saying that like man, let's see. I've seen innit. And I think I was talking to.
So we love her though. We love her.
Oh yeah. But no, literally, because I was talking to one of my brothers about this the other day. I was saying how like I clocked why it is. Like, because there's certain things that my girl can do that you lot could do, and I actually wouldn't bat an eyelid. Yeah. But it's because it's her. Why are you doing that? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, excuse it. Do you get me? And I didn't.
And I think that's the thing that when it comes to loving people the same, it's like part of it is like not letting your emotions dictate how you treat people. So like for example, I think sometimes assessing how do you treat the different people in your life. So for example, your mum says, "Oh, come and help me do the shopping." You're complaining. Your girl says, "Oh, come help me pick jeans in Zara." Oh, let's go. It's like you kind of just assess your different relationships and how do you treat people differently based on who they are.
It's comfortability, isn't it?
It's comfortability for sure. And it's also sometimes like you're not as loving as you think you are. Yeah, you're a selective lover. Like you see the thing you said is like I think you got to assess before you get into a relationship. Obviously, you can't know what that's going to look like necessarily romantically. And I think that this is one thing that Christians should try not to do is try not to simulate a whole relationship before you said, I know I can do these things because you cannot know. Like you're not in a relationship.
I feel like that's more no disrespect to women, innit?
I don't think it is. It's a woman thing. I don't think it is, you know.
I think that kind of is.
Shall I tell you why I don't think so? I think guys, for example, I mean this is a personal thing, but I've spoken to guys who said similar things. So cool. You see like lust, I feel like most guys, this is a common understanding. I don't struggle with lust, so man can get into a relationship. Poor understanding. Let me tell you why. Because if your thing is, I don't struggle with lust because I don't get myself into dumb situations, you might have an issue.
Yeah.
Because if you're like,
now the situation is coming to you.
You're telling me, I don't struggle with lust because I'm not attacking anything. Now we need to know about your defense, bro. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and people say, people ask the question of, how can I test that if I'm not in a relationship? So then I say, let me link things and see if I
That is true.
You see, I feel like girls in their head sometimes. This is a generalization. Girls, it's like they run it through their heads and see how they'll handle it. Guys, our thing is, let me go out and see something. Let me see.
Then I come back to the G's and then we'll see you.
Let me take a touch.
And so the people say, but like, how can you test that if you're not in a relationship? And this is the thing where it's similar to how you have to see how you love in different situations. See how you handle sin just as a whole.
As a whole.
So, for example, when a situation for you to,
very good.
I don't know. A situation comes to you and the easiest thing to do is lie. How do you treat it? If you're telling white lies to get out of dumb situations because it's convenient, when lust is convenient,
you're gonna make an excuse in your head.
It was late. I didn't want to get home.
You know
Valentine's.
You know one that comes to my head actually. Obviously, comes to
I don't put yourself.
Let me continue now before. But you know one that comes to it's a very good question that you raised because obviously in the back of my head thinking about this, obviously yes, Christ the foundation is there, but it's through those experiences then you can actually channel. You know, if you're actually ready or if you're not. You know, one thing I don't think that gets spoken enough that I don't hear that we don't know if we are at that position or not is the level of control that we have. And I think that's very, very key because there may be a case whereby, you know, you go into a, you go into a relationship here and, you know, I'm speaking from a perspective of a man deemed as the leader, you know, in some cases, you know, obviously subjective, whatever relationship, innit? But in most cases, innit? Yeah, and there may be a case where, okay, cool.
I'm not going to do it.
Just hold on. There may be a case now. Okay, saving up for together or.
I've been talking about experience.
No, but like just in general, innit? Like you may have these types of conversations about saving up together in terms of like money side of things, or like how's your characteristics around family and etc. But there may be a case whereby you don't want to reinforce your own beliefs directly onto that person, and in many cases that could act as a control, but we don't see it sometimes. And I feel like if someone was to tell me what's the perfect solution of how to eradicate that before a relationship, I don't know, innit? But one thing I could say is that at least when being in a relationship, be very, very intentional about that, and also be very open, with your partner about it. If there's conversations about, maybe you're pushing me around the edge too much, or if there's not really I can't really walk in as much confidence as I feel like, have those types of conversations. So when it comes to now bringing that true foundation back into Christ, you can refine.
There is a way to test that.
Wait, so this comes back to I think me and you having this conversation last Saturday. I went to this guy's house. I ended up sleeping there and stayed there the whole day.
Yeah, I can't lie. So you came there. You came on Friday night.
Yeah, left.
Saturday night. Your sofas are
comfortable, bro.
Comfy.
Yeah, I remember when Wiz did that, bro. He came to my house.
He slept.
There was a week where Wiz
stayed the whole day.
There was a week where Wiz stayed at my house.
He had breakfast, bro.
Hey, chill. I'm eating this jollof rice in the morning. Stop it, bro. I'll be there every day.
I can't lie. I will be there.
Bro, you're welcome, bro.
No, so let's go back to you see what he's saying, yeah? I feel like, go back to what we're saying, how do you want to live your life?
Yes.
And I think
in the car.
Yeah. And a large part of this is like, you see like everything you're saying, innit? It's very valid and very true, innit? But the easiest way is, your life should be in a certain way. What you see is what you get. What do I mean by that? When I speak to Kaz about certain things, I know what I'm going to get as a response. But I'm going to speak to him knowing I'm going to get this as a response, right? If you put up a front that's not you, bro, it will never work. Yeah, that's for both parties, bro. It will never ever work. Because you'll get in the situation, and again, the foundations will get tested. You're like, bro, you're not what I thought you were. Yeah. Your diamonds are fake. Get that tester. No, literally, your diamonds are fake. Like, I try my best to make sure that what people see is what they get. Like, like I think that's more so me, like right now, in terms of my life, in terms of where everything's
don't front for anyone.
You know this? My pastor asked me a question. He said, Rob, let me ask you a question. He's like, if I was to ask your brethren, ask the people around you, like, does Bien's life reflect what he says and what he believes? What would they say? I said, that's a good question. I said, for the most part, I think that they say it does. And then he said, cool. So now, if I was to look at your life, to what extent does your theology match your life? I said, now that's an interesting question. And it made me think about what you said there about, are your diamonds fake? Are you really just talk? Are you putting up a front? Are you honest about how you live your life and who you say you are, where you want to go? Oh yeah, I want to be a businessman, I want to run bare businesses. Wow, what are you doing right now? Man, just baking. That man's gonna pattern that later. You don't sound like somebody who wants to go there, And I think this is the thing. I think one of the things that there's two sides to this. Firstly, on the control thing, it's like, are you open with who you are and who you want to be? So, for example, let's say your brethren are telling you, so you said to yourself, I want to stop drinking alcohol. Your brethren are saying, there's bottomless brunch, let's go. But you're shook to tell your brethren that. So you're like, yeah, let's go. And then now you're then after, oh God, I know I said I'll stop drinking, but... And it's like, do you have the balls, the cojones to tell people, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing? Because there's always some of your friends might be like, bro, like that's hard. Some people are like, oh, you're moist. Same way, when and now have a relationship, there's going to be certain times where you lot don't see situations the same. Are you willing to tell them, rah, I see it this way, what do you think about it? No. Are you willing to kind of have those potential conflict conversations or potential disagreements there? I think that's one side to it. And I think, like I said, that can be tested with friendships. It can also be tested with family. Sometimes your mom or your siblings are saying, oh, I want you to do this, or we're going to do this. And you're like, no, this is what I want to do. This is where I see my life going. This is what I believe. Are you willing to have those conversations? Because if you're not willing to have those conversations with your mom, who she's not going to... for the most part, may not disown you for what you say next. Your girl, who has no real reason not to leave you, you're not blood related, you lot are not married, she can leave over any conflict or disagreement. If you can't have those conversations with people who will not leave, you are never going to have this conversation with somebody who won't leave.
You're too scared to lose.
You're
it.
too scared.
And I think it kind of goes back to, I think one of the most important things, the pattern, is like consistency and character, like, and submission
Integrity.
integrity and integrity and submission to God. Because I think one thing that people don't understand is that, again, it kind of goes back to the point I was talking about, like, every single thing in your life has to be done in reverence of God. There's not a single part that you have in your life that's your own. Everything needs to be done according to the standard of word and according to like your fear, your reverent fear of God. And I think if you're at a place in life where you still see stuff based on, again, your own emotions, your own feelings, based on what the actual thing is. So in this sense, like, if it's my exams, I can do this anyhow. But if this is my work and it's like, I don't know, some seniors are coming in, that's when I need to pattern. If you don't have that level of integrity, I think integrity is the thing that will stand the test of time. Like, that's what you said. I think that's
private and in public.
In private and consistency to people.
Yeah. Do you know why this is a big thing? I think
It's true.
I'm not being sexist or misogynistic here, innit? But I think that this is.
Where's he going with this?
No, this is what I'm gonna go.
Don't take this one.
No, this is a big thing for guys and men. So cool. Pastor Eric, who always says this thing of,
Triple OG, bro. Super stamped.
Super stamped, bro.
Crazy.
He says this thing of, if she's with the vision, she ain't got to go. And so he makes it very clear, in your 20s as a man, one of the big things you got to do is kind of develop a vision for your life. But yeah, a lot of guys, what they do instead of developing a vision is developing an image. And they work on developing the image of their life. But now, yeah, you see, let's say you want the woman who she's driven, career driven, or smart, or God-fearing, and you bring her into your life,
she sees everything.
If she tests your diamonds and it's fake, you're cooked.
She sees everything, bro.
And this is the thing, innit? Like, I remember, yeah. I think one of the things that I think shocked my girl the most, yeah, when we got together, or before then, is like, she saw like the structure of my life. She said, what the flip is this? She's like, how do you sleep like this? How do you live like this? I was like, vibes, bro. Like, do you get me? And it's like, it was only at that point that I kind of realized, like, having somebody in close proximity to you, they're going to test your diamonds.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, like,
every day.
If my girl turned around and said to me, I can't be with a girl that's like that. Love, what can I say?
Nothing. And she's right.
Bro.
No, she's right.
And that's the thing. It's like, I think this is the thing. Now, I think the integrity thing has to be you in the mirror. When you say you're going to do this to yourself, when you set to-do lists and whatnot, I think this is one thing that you two, I was telling Biz, I think that you two are very, very similar on this. See, Quabs and Biz, yeah? You lot are sly extremists, but nonetheless, when they say,
this will be done,
it's getting done. Yeah. If Quab says, I'm going to put a 12-hour shift in July because I've got an exam on Monday, it's not going to be 10 hours, it's not going to be 11 and a half, 12 hours minimum. If Biz says, bro, this guy, yeah, it was winter one time in uni. This guy said, like, it's winter, so I'm going to run to the gym topless to, like, condition my body. I said, yeah. FaceTime this brother. Bro, let's start in December.
Yeah, crazy.
I'm thinking, what's wrong with this guy? But it's that thing, there's an integrity in the mirror.
Yeah.
Do you get me?
And even on that, like, I think that's when I realized I was ready. I knew that I treat Alive, which was our uni fellowship group, the same. I treat that here. I treat my parents' relationship here. Everything I started to realize in my life, obviously I'm not perfect, but I started to realize everything I do, I know that I'm accountable to God. Mm-hmm. There isn't one thing I can cheat out of, if that makes sense. I knew that, okay, if I'm in a relationship, it's not about whatever the person does. It's me and God. And I think a lot of people don't know that. Mm-hmm. And that's when, if you don't know that, then it's done. Don't even start it. Because if you don't know that, your actions aren't onto the other person. It's always onto God. And we always say that even as a pod team. That's how the Christian life should be. But especially when it comes to relationships, that's something that a lot of people don't realize or don't believe in. You think your actions are based on the other person.
Do you know where this comes in? First things first, because I wanted to land my point before, just so nobody thinks I'm misogynistic. Why I was saying that's important for a guy is because at the end of the day, you're the person that's going to be the leader of the household. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so if you can't establish a vision, because naturally, from the biblical standpoint, a man sets the vision, the woman is the helper. Cool. So imagine now you're at work, yeah? Your manager comes into the monthly meeting for the team. Yeah, guys. So yeah, so cool. What's our targets? We're just gonna play by ear, see what happens. Okay, cool. So now then, mid-month meeting comes. How's the target? I don't really know. I wasn't even tracking the targets, but I think we look like we're doing all right. eventually you lot are going to be like, this manager doesn't have a clue what she's doing. I don't want to work in a place like this. I don't know what my targets are. I don't know what my performance metrics are. How do I perform well? How do I not perform well? And so if you put that same kind of context here, eventually, one more thing, what kind of leadership is this? Why would I even want to help this? There's no vision to help. There's nothing to help here.
Nothing to
and
help.
It's like, I'm not saying, and then I think, but this also has to be tempered, because I think then as a guy, what you don't want to do is think, I have to have my life, my 10-year plan, my 20-year plan. And I was telling, me and Biz were talking about this, I said, you don't have to know exactly what you want to do, but what you need to do is, how about, this is the direction I want to go in, and this is what I'm doing to go in that direction.
These are the habits you're
building. If I get 5 years down the line,
and
my focus has changed, whatever, cool, but this was the direction, then if God pivots me, or I want to pivot for whatever reason, so be it. And I think one of the perfect examples of this, there's two in the Bible. Adam and Eve. When Eve came, Eve had a very specific assignment. A helper in Adam's role as steward in God's creation. Then what she ended up being was a helper in destroying God's creation. Why? Because of poor leadership. So a lot of there's a theory or a view on the situation that, did Adam properly communicate to Eve that she wasn't supposed to eat the apple? We weren't there, we don't fully know. But clearly, even when she said to him, eat this apple, he should have said, we don't do that around here, bro. But he said, why not? Do you get me? And it's like, then you see how, because of his bad behavior and his bad leadership, he dragged her down. People say, oh, but she's the one that went first.
He's the one that's supposed to.
Do you get me? And that's why, you know, when people say you're a reflection of your parents' leadership of you. And it's similar. The other best example, I'll advise everybody to watch David Guzik's sermon on Acts chapter 5 on Ananias and Sapphira. He said this thing about how one of the big problems was Ananias and Sapphira compartmentalized how they treated the church and how they treated their money. They wanted to give to the church because they love God, but they didn't want to give all of it because their money is their finances. If they said, I'm being accountable to God in both situations, then when we're telling the church we're giving them money, we'll give however much we say we're going to give, because integrity goes across both. But now, so there you see the integrity thing. But now, because Ananias was also a bad leader, and he didn't kind of communicate and keep that standard consistent, he killed both him and his wife. And this is the thing, when you look on the flip side of Joseph and Mary, because Joseph started that relationship on, I love God, and if this is what God has called me to, I'm going to do it. Then when the time came to go to Egypt, when the time came to bring the family back, to raise Jesus, Mary, even though she was the one that was giving Jesus, could follow Joseph's leadership every time, because the standard was the same, and because he had, this is the thing, like, the relationship with God is not even the foundation that's necessary for a relationship. A relationship with God is the foundation that's necessary for your life. For a relationship, the foundation that's necessary is that accountability before God in every single aspect. Because if you want a God-fearing woman and you step out of line in your accountability to God, if she comes before you and says, I don't want to be with you because you don't listen to God, there is nothing you can say.
But okay, cool. I've got a question for the ladies. On the lady side of things,
do you not want to come in and give them some tip,
please? Do you want to?
Make some. It's a yo. Hannah, come.
Ladies, please. Yeah. But I don't even know if I'm going to ask the question properly, but hopefully you guys get me. Hopefully you guys get me. Yeah. You lot can fit there, man. Cool. So, like, you see as a guy, as you said, like, you have a vision. You know, you want the girl to kind of follow what? You have a vision, you want the girl to kind of like be able to help you and whatnot. To what extent, like, should, like, not impose yourself on the girl, but, like, does the girl have to have certain qualities as well, certain habits, certain... Are you guys listening to me? Yeah. Okay, cool. Certain things in place for you to keep being there. Because you want to lead her, right? And she has to also trust in your thing. But, like, what does she kind of have to have, or what does she have to do or continuously do for you to also trust that she's a good helper enough?
This is a fun fact, because obviously you lot know this very well. Before I got into a relationship, that was a major thing for me. Yeah. A very, very big thing for me. And I think it's number one. Is one of the big things, and I'm going to ask these girls kind of how they navigate these things, but for me, one of the big things is this, right? So, if I'm going through hardship or you're going through hardship, what's your first port of call? Because if your first port of call is go for a walk and listen to some music, when I'm going through hardship, that's what you're going to advise me because you think that's what's good to do. If your first port of call is to go to God, then when I'm also going for the same thing, I'm tweaking, you're going to tell me go to God. So I think that's one thing. It's like, what's kind of your mechanism when stuff gets hard? That's one of the things. And the second thing is, how do you see what God is able to make you capable of. So one thing that I can't stand in Christians is when you believe that, if a situation is like this, God can't make it any better. Like, it is what it is. God, I'm not good at this. God can't make me better at it. You know what I'm saying? I think those are two things for me that if I can see somebody's like, do you know what? Like, man can't do this, or I'm learning this. If God's gonna make the increase, he's gonna pattern it.
Yeah.
I think so. It's the faith kind of thing, like not radical. That's just what faith is. So I think it's faith.
You live by faith.
Faith, and so living by faith, and then those defense mechanisms. I want to ask you two, have you lot ever been? So cool. For you guys, what are the things that you think? If I'm with a guy, say this guy, you get me, this guy wants to go with that, wants to do whatever, that I need to make sure I'm patterned in so I can be a good girlfriend, going on to be a good wife in that situation.
Courting, bro.
I feel like I'd say boundaries, because I've been in this situation before, and I feel like it's important, as Biz was saying. Biz? I feel like, as Biz was saying, you have to work on your foundation first before you obviously decide whether or not you want to like invest in someone else. And for me, it was like I needed to make sure my relationship with God was going a certain way, and it was kind of like consistent, and I was obviously putting him first, prioritizing him, because I think when you get into a relationship, as you guys were saying, like it's easy to pour into that other person, and that person becomes like your number one. So if God isn't already that number one, when you now get into that relationship, the boyfriend kind of takes over, and that becomes like your point of contact. So it was important to me. So even stuff like nowadays, I do this thing where like from midnight, I just don't talk to anyone. But when I was talking to someone, it was like midnight comes and
cool and that.
I'm just like, like I'm ending this now. And obviously, I think sometimes the conversation will be difficult. Like, why can't we just keep talking? I'm just like, no, because I think it's important to keep that boundary, whether or not, even if I went to bed after 12, even if I wasn't talking to God, whatever, it's just like, it has to stay there, because if it doesn't stay there, I think that's when the priorities kind of start shifting, if that makes sense. So one thing about me is like boundaries. If I said midnight, 11:50, I'll be like 10 minutes left, because once it gets to midnight, that's it. Can't help you.
They'll say you're strict.
I feel like I can be, but it's important in the beginning.
You know, I didn't even think about it, but that's a really good point, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like it's important in the beginning. Obviously, like, I was just talking then, but if we got to something serious, it would still stay, because once you start to
move the goalposts,
you start becoming a bit nonchalant, then it's like, anything can run. But if I think,
and then when like you now, let's say you say 12, but then one day you go at 1, another day you might go 2, then maybe you come back to 12, you're trying to do the 12 thing again. No, you went to 1, you went to 2, why are you trying to come back to 12? Yeah, you're gonna be like, bro,
that's a fake damage, bro. Get darker though. Because then the thing is, with boundaries, you see, once you break one boundary, one place, every boundary, bro. Now, cool. God forbid, innit? Let's say now, you're a girl, the man says, come sleep over at mine. You've always been like, man not do sleepovers. Then now, one day, you're like, but you said you don't do calls after 12, but you did.
Yeah.
That's why, like, obviously we'll get to your answer, but it goes back to, again, it goes back to that consistency in character, bro. That thing is so vital, because even like you talk about a vision, vision is great, but if you're not consistent in character, that's meaty. And that's why I think the number one thing you have to have patterned is character. Obviously, I'm not saying you can't be perfect in character, but that integrity is so vital, because even if you don't have a vision yet, she will know that when Daniel gets his vision, he'll run away with it. He'll go brazy, because he already has. Because it goes back to even like David, bro. David, shepherd boy.
By the way, do you know why that's dark? Because do you know when it gets dark? And I've seen situations like this because if you want your woman to be somebody that supports and helps you and pushes you and whatnot, but she doesn't believe that you're a man of your word, you're going to say, darling, I want to do this business. I hear you still.
Yeah. She won't be part of it.
She's going to want to be, you know the two that are like, I'll see it when I believe it. Yeah. If your woman becomes like that, as opposed to you said it, I'm here, you know when the woman says, you're done.
Yeah, that's why having a vision is great. It's great, but it's...
Even in terms of like the character thing you're saying, I feel like it's also very important to understand that you can develop character.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't acknowledge. Like, your character can be flawed in many ways. Like, you see how you're saying me and Krabs can be very extreme and very like. I think I said this to you the other day. Krabs is very consistent in that. I'm consistent in that, but I'm consistent depending on the circumstance of what's happening. Yeah. I rise to the occasion. I rise to the occasion. Like, if something's going on, what needs to happen? I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? He's very much, before he even gets to that,
he's already doing it.
There's a system in place and stuff like that. So in terms of like consistency and discipline and stuff like that, that's one thing that I really admired about him. Like, even just being closer to him, like, again, church-wise, other stuff, just relationship-wise, and all these things. Like, even when went to a retreat last year, and I just saw the consistency in his prayer. I was like, this guy's cool. Like, I was like, you know what? Like, yeah, like, that's something I want more of. Like, and I feel like, I think Paul said, imitate me as I've imitated Christ. Innit? And I feel like there's a level of imitation brings assimilation. You know what I'm saying? Association brings assimilation as well. Like, it brings those characteristics.
Regular drugs, bro.
No, like, but it brings those characteristics towards you. Like, let's say, for example, one friend that I really have that I really respect. I respect all the man in a minute, but I really respect Declan because Declan's always been himself. One thing about Declan, he won't conform to what anyone's saying, bro. That guy's gonna be what he is, and you have a lot of that as well. I think everyone here has a lot of that, but that from the day I met Declan in year 3, bro, that's how he's always been, and that's kind of crazy. And I really respect that about him. Like, he doesn't bro, he's gonna be him. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like it goes back to my question, and even I'm gonna ask the girls as well. Like, in terms of characteristics that you look for in a partner, like, how much does consistency in their character play a part in deciding how you're going to go forward with that relationship?
I think for me that's really important because, like what Danny was saying earlier about, like, oh, if she can't get behind the vision, or, you know, I won't be able to get behind the vision if you are not living out your vision anyway. There's no vision for me to get behind because you're not even being consistent, taking the steps to go towards that vision. So how do I even help you in that? I don't know how to. I think also, if you can't be consistent with yourself, how are you going to be consistent with me?
Ooh.
That's deep. That's deep. Don't clip that one. Don't clip that one.
No, do you know why that's, there's a, you know the scripture that says, love your wife as you love yourself.
That's deep.
And whilst the spotlight's on you for the second go, could you also, you see the question that Hannah answered before in terms of, like, what are the things, like, for you that you want like implement, shall I say?
Yeah.
Kind of that, like, so that you're what you have in your head of, like, a good godly girlfriend going towards wife.
Yeah. I think I'm the same with Hannah with boundaries on things. But also, I think when I started thinking about, okay, would I be open to dating, I was starting to think of, like, what's the kind of guy that I would want? Then would he want me? And then
No. People don't ask us that question enough, you know. People don't ask us that question enough.
I like the way you think.
At that point,
Would he want me? Would she want me?
At that point, I was like, okay, maybe I need to buy him.
Darker, not deeper. Darker.
And then I did. Oh gosh! At that point, I said maybe I need to plan to work towards being at that point where it's like, okay, cool. This man that I want, he would want me because we're on the same level. Like, I'm saying he needs to be consistent. Maybe, I don't know, he's waking up at 6, getting on with his life, rat-a-tat. Am I doing that? Like, or am I sleeping until 1 p.m? It doesn't really make sense.
Testing your own diamonds.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the other tester, bro. That's the own one, yo. The own one.
Episode diamond tester.
That's good.
But even going back to, like,
that's a good question.
I think all this goes back to, again, like, what is your foundation, innit? And it's okay to see that you've got a shaky foundation, but again, it's okay. It's okay.
It's
Like,
good to recognize.
Up to the B, bro.
You have to be aware, bro.
You know what's crazy about
be aware.
the boundary stuff, yeah? So it's in a sermon last week, innit? Talking about the story of Haggai, of how he's telling the people of Judea to be obedient and continue building the temple, even greater than what Solomon built it, innit? And the problem with the people at the time is that, you know, the boundaries that they set, the standards that they set dropped completely. And one thing that the pastor said that stuck to me is that sometimes you can be so deep into your boundaries that you don't even know if it's a sin anymore. And I think sometimes when it comes to our relationships or, like, getting with someone at that time, it's almost like, okay, cool. We get, you said something interesting about, you know, there may be a chance whereby you guys get to each other at that same level. Now, the thing is, you got to ask yourself, okay, that same level, have you really evaluated? Is it really the same level that you picture it to be? The guys were spoken about, that image that you've portrayed, you know. And I remember I had this interesting conversation with one very close guy that everyone knows here, but I'm not going to say his name in it because no consent on that, innit? But
Sure,
I remember, it's not even deep in it, but don't want to say. Well, you don't
just say what you're gonna say, bro.
Basically, he was saying that it was talk about his experience about one guy in it one girl. He was one girl he was speaking to in it, and he said that in his heart is like, you know, he started getting close to Christ, but he only started doing it because she was doing it. He only started doing it because like she was going to church or she was reading the Bible, and he said that, you know, the facade in him, like, he couldn't continue it anymore. And I thought one thing they had to realize though. One thing that's real true with something like this though is a true evaluation of your heart, because now you have to see from your heart, are the right things in place? Are you now living according to your own means? And currently right now I was telling Square the other day, I was reading the book by Derek Prince, The Foundational Truths. That book, I can't lie, it's changed my life, man. Like, every single day, just reading it, and it's just getting me closer and closer. And one thing it said, you know, when it comes to, you know, so to add a bit of context, the first chapter, the first segment, you know, in terms of a foundational truth, is just God's word. But it looks at so many different parts in terms of faith, cleansing of sin, you know, sanctification. But one thing it really went into was how the word now really reflects into your heart. And what's very important is that when you now have a relationship with someone, you now want to lead them according to Christ. And you have to believe that the words or the way that you're going to navigate, Christ is using you to navigate that person in that type of way. Now, if you see your heart and it's like, oh my goodness, like, there's this person, say for instance, you guys are thinking that, oh, you know, this guy's telling me to read my Bible more, he's saying these things. You may think that, oh my goodness, he's so supportive and etc. But deep down, the guy's probably, you know, that's not his heart posture. That's not where he's actually at.
And eventually he's just doing it because eventually he'll come out.
And yeah, eventually
he wants you to hear
exactly.
That.
You know,
the thing is, if you're trying to get into a relationship as a Christian, ideally it's going to be forever. Obviously, it might not work out, but ideally it's going to be forever. And you need to think about, do I have what it takes to play those minutes? No, do I have what it takes to play those minutes? If you don't have that stamina, then it's time to ask him, like, let me get out of here. But and it's a hard question to assess yourself.
Ask yourself the question.
That's why you should ask yourself, and also ask trusted people. Ask trusted people. Can your brethren say that? I think you keep up, because if you're, for me, after the B, if I came to ask you, am I ready to speak to someone? You would have told me, hell no. You told me hell no. Do you get what I mean?
We literally all would have said, nah.
Remember when I was trying to. Hey. You know when I was trying to run it remember, Biz kept saying to me, no. Don't try and run.
You know one thing though, I want to bring it back to, especially what we said at the start. Well, you have so just to like round off for anyone that wants to say anything last in it. One thing that we said there is that when you have a girl, she can see a different side to you, that, you know, she could G-check on you. We've spoken about that throughout the whole episode, didn't it? But I think one thing that I have to give a lot of props like to the mandem is that when it comes to pivotal times in our life, whether we're in a relationship or not in a relationship, and they've said, you know, from their own lens, you know, that, oh bro, like, stick to it, or oh bro, leave from it. There's been countless situations with all of us individually where we thought one way, guys have said, oh, you know, maybe think about this other way. And I think it's important to take it as a whole, you know. And I think is key when it comes to the life of even dating as well, that, yeah, you may be so fixated on this one way. The girl may just see us lead and just follow that, but you need people around you to be like, bro, maybe you can look at this way and try and redirect in the right direction. So, and
I think just one thing to round it off, none of these things that we're saying you have to be perfectly consistent, perfectly stable, some perfect vision. However, if you can't vouch for yourself and people can't vouch for you, the person who speaks to you every day most definitely will never vouch for you. Yeah, sure. And that's like, you need to be confident in that. And if you think that that's an exaggerated standard, then honestly speaking, you need to question whether you actually want to look like Christ or not. Because to be consistent in your prayer life, in your Bible, to be consistent in going to church, to be integral every day, there may be difficult things to do, but none of that is extreme. If anything, that's the bare minimum. Like, as a Christian, that should be what you want to do. So if you can't look in the mirror and say, this is you, and you want to tell us that you're going to lead your partner in Christ, you're not led in Christ. Wherever you're leading yourself is where you're going to lead the person that's following you. Yeah. And so if you're led, and I think this one thing for me, I think that is actually a blessing that I only got into a relationship last year as opposed to when I actually wanted to. Because through like 2023, I realized how much I was led by my wanting for comfort. Like, if I don't want to wake up at 9, I'm not going to do it. And I realized after a while that is just not good. Yeah. And I think like so the lack of structure was coming from, I realized that I wasn't led by Christ as much as I thought I was in certain areas. And it's because I wasn't ever in a hard pressed situation that showed me that. My life allowed me to live in comfort, allowed me to just, I want to laze around and go to bed at 6 a.m. and wake up at 12 p.m. I'm going to do it because I could. Then when I've got into situations after where I couldn't, and it was a reflection of the rest of my life, where a lot of the things in my life went well because I was never in a hard pressed situation that made it difficult to go well. And this is the thing. When I realized that, I said, rah, I would have cooked myself anyway. And so if you see certain things, you're like, oh, I think I could handle it in a relationship. You can't. It's going to be worse. So, yeah.
I'd also say, acknowledge how you're built. We're not all built the same, bro.
Word.
Biz, man. I love it.
No, we're not all built the same. And the thing is, I think there was a question that you asked earlier in terms of vision and direction and a lot of these things. At the end of the day, you have to choose how you want to live. Like, God gave you free will. Like, God's actually crazy. In God's will, He gave you free will. Like, so there's a part of it, like, you got a role to play in how your life goes, how your walk goes, and all these things. I feel like a lot of us anyway. And again, big shout out to Christ. Thank you for inviting me to your church, by the way. I think I've said this before.
This is deeper, bro.
It's really, really my brother still. But it's really, really real because it showed. One thing about me, like, I don't like soft things, bro. I'm not a soft person like that. Like, I do enjoy stuff, sorry, I'm taking
No, I was thinking about football.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, like, but it, like, I'll say like seeing firsthand how Christians can truly be very inspiring in terms of the mandom's growth and all these things. But it also showed me that we have a large part to play in how we choose to live and how we go about things. So even in terms of relationships and all that, my words of advice before all of this is how do you truly want to live? I think that's one thing a lot of people always have to question themselves. How truly do you want to live? Like, the word is a mirror. One thing about the Bible, bro, the Bible will not lie to you, bro. Whether you're happy or not, whether you're sad or not, God's word is God's word. It's unchanging. You know what I'm saying? If God said this is the standard, no matter what's happening. I look at the story. I think the other day we were looking at the story of Joseph in church. I'm like, bro, this guy, he was getting cooked. You know what I'm saying? But even in him getting cooked, he did not waver. Like, I'm not saying we're going to be perfect Christians here. I'm not saying we're going to be perfect Christians, but like, when you decide to choose this life and you try to choose to go away, to live a certain way, you decide to choose to like lead a woman and all these things, you have to be very firm and, as you said, resolute in who you've chosen to be and how you've chosen to live and live a Christian life. I think that will bring everything else anyway. So,
check those diamonds, man.
Diamond tester, man. Does the person that you want you?
yeah.
So